I did have a hard time fitting in terms of my learning style, and it was uncomfortable. It's only been in fairly recent times that I've become comfortable with how I approach learning. But when you're young and you realize that you're not fitting in terms of how do you face questions, just the wording of questions in test-oriented situations. In first grade, in our homework, there was we were learning how to add, and the teacher had put oranges and apples, and we were supposed to add them, and I just could not seem to be able to get that, because all I'd ever heard around the house was, those are oranges and apples. They don't go together. My depression became a significant factor at the age of about 28, and I had moved back to my hometown, pretty much kicking and screaming, to take over the family business. And my father was sick. Well, everybody in the family was sick. And so there was so much for me to learn. And at the same time, I was, business-wise, there was so much for me to learn. I remember calling my father, and he's just, he's barely making it through each day. And I called him and I said, "There's no directions in these books here. All I see is, profit and loss, and then there's no directions here. How am I supposed to learn this? You're not here." And then I was also working on something that has been a major part of my life, which is music and writing. And it was just all too much, and it forced just kind of a crashing situation. Absolutely. I think anytime that you can volunteer to seek treatment, you're going to benefit from it, as long as you open yourself up. I mean, I have to say, it's a very conscious attempt on my part. I may feel really out of it and, kind of not knowing what to do, but at the same time, there's always this heavy pushing in my brain that's telling me, be active in here, take advantage of everything, go to every group meeting, do everything that they're offering to do, and ask for more. And if you do that, you're ahead of the game. Well, my go-to area personally for me has been composing music and writing, and those oftentimes have appeared in the form of projects, such as a book that I wrote based on some real life events, being purchased by Penny Marshall and Columbia Pictures. A lot of the projects were came about in unusual ways, but they've always been a lifesaver to me. And when I'm doing it, suddenly I just can't remember doing anything else. There's always been a level of discrimination in the workplace. And there's nothing you can do about it. I've tried approaching it from every angle that I could. I've tried approaching it from the angle of, well, let me just be upfront and honest with, with the manager on duty and let them know. And somehow it always gets, it gets back to everybody that's working around you seems to know more than you know about what may or may not be going on with you. And if you hear the word mental illness or disorder in the workplace, trust me, you're in for a hard time. How does it help me to help others, especially in a volunteer therapy situation? I don't really know the answer to that, about how does it affect me, other than, let me just say that there's something that is so visceral that happens when you are helping somebody kind of come to grips that they're trying to cope with a disorder that is being ignored by their family members or whoever. And you can see light bulbs coming on, especially in young people. Like, oh, okay, I get it, I'm not the only one. If I had to boil it down to one thing that could improve drastically the relationship with people who have mental illness, it would be just listening. It's the disorders are very hard to talk about. It's just there's such an intangible part that's hard to talk about. So when you are talking to somebody who doesn't suffer from any of the disorders, just be aware that they're having a hard time understanding, and also maybe they're just not listening. So get out there, talk, and give people a reason to listen.